Hello everyone, it's Mr. John from AK Dragfish 3D, and it is September the 7th. It is Warhammer Update Thursday. Today, the September balance update dropped. There's a lot of changes. I want to hit you quick, fast, dirty. I'm not going to burn 3 hours of your time like all the other big talking heads are. A few minutes of your time, so let's get into it. Okay, so first order of business, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. As a Knight player, a lot of these are going to come from a Knight's perspective, from an Imperium perspective, from a Space Marine perspective, as I've been playing Space Marines for most of 4th and forward, with a few other sprinklings of other Imperium armies, Death Watch, Imperial agents, so on and so forth, throughout the 10 plus years I've been playing. So with that said, we'll start with the elephant in the room, which is towering. Now, I kind of actually expected this, to be honest, because a lot of people didn't understand that. We've got a lot of new players in 8th, 9th, and 10th that really didn't understand true line of sight. So I fully expected some kind of change. And here it is covered right here, where models that are within this terrain feature can also see out of it normally. So, in other words, you've got your piece of terrain, and you've got your knight. The knight can no longer see it unless he's touching it. So you're like, okay, so that's kind of awkward, but if we come over to here, this is the official terrain tournament layout from GT Mission Packet. If you look on the screen, it's these little dots. I don't know if you can quite see my mouse very well here. These little dots is the outline of the terrain, where the blue blocks are the actual pieces of terrain itself. You were considered in the terrain if you were on these. So if I got a knight sitting here and you got some dudes sitting right here in this little cubby hole, I can see you and I'm going to blast the crap out of you with my knight. Next bullet point we're going to talk about is the CP mod, which is right here. Modifying stratagem CP cost. The short version, it only applies battle tactic stratagems. If you're wondering, what are battle tactic stratagems? They're indicated right there. Battle tactic stratagems. They're normally this teal light green color. It's no more firing Overwatch for free, because Overwatch is a strategic ploy stratagem. There's no more using tank shock. Tank shock is a strategic ploy stratagem. Coming back to it, it gives 2 specific examples. The captain's rights in battle. If you recall from the Tacoma Open, the one Space Marine player who had Gilliman, Ventress, the captain, and then a whole bunch of stuff, and you've got 4 Overwatches a turn for only 1 CP. That's gone. You cannot Overwatch with free CP anymore. So this kind of goes in line with all the others. I noticed flipping through all of the nerfs, I hate using the word nerf, changes, all the changes, they all kind of stitch together in some manner of balance, and I don't rarely pick this up when they release these types of updates. So it's pleasantly odd to see these types of updates. With that said, it specifically calls out the Calidus and her ability for Reign of Confusion to put a CP tax. Because her ability does not specifically call out a stratagem, it can only be used for battle tactics. So if it specifically calls out a stratagem, so for example, the Lancer specifically calls out tank shock, the Eversor Assassin specifically calls out heroic intervention and fire overwatch. If it specifically calls out a stratagem, have fun. If it does not specifically call it a stratagem, it's got to be a battle tactic. Alright, so the next we're going to talk about here are the Imperial Knight changes, namely the Bondsman. There's a lot of big talking heads across YouTube. You're going to watch a lot of these types of videos. They're going to say, Bondsman ability is a big nerf. Bondsman ability is a big nerf. I really don't see this as a big nerf. I see it as a small change, a tactical change, but not really a nerf. And as you can see on screen here, only the Armiger is now affected by the Bondsman ability. So you got the Warden and you got the Baby Knight, right? So the Warden has the -1 damage. When he gives out the Bondsman ability, he no longer keeps the Bondsman ability himself. He's just giving it to the little Armiger so he can run around and do his thing. There's a lot of tactics out there that people are going to be like, this is stupid, this is garbage, I'm not running Wardens ever again. Take a chill. Take a chill pill, breathe, man. It's changing the tactics. I kind of think of it bringing in line other armies across the board, where the leader will give the little buddy his power. I think the Tech Marine is the best example. The Tech Marine in the command phase goes click and picks a tank within 3 inches, and that tank gets a +1 to hit. The tank and the Tech Marine don't get the +1 to hit. He's handing out a +1 to hit. So the Bondsman ability changing, I'm kind of looking at it like that. And speaking of buddies, you could also help me be my buddy and go check out more videos on my channel. So follow the playlists, go check it out. We talk about wargaming, we talk about Alaska, we talk about all sorts of awesome stuff, so go check it out. Moving on, they went ahead and changed Devastating Wounds. Devastating Wounds no longer deals mortals. Instead, they're going, I feel this is kind of like a rewind back to 7th, before Mortal Wounds were introduced. It was the idea before Mortal Wounds were introduced that you just straight up don't get a save. Like, bang, no save. Instant death. The instant death rule. That's what the new wording on screen here reminds me of. This does not negate feel no pain. We still get feel no pain. We just don't get a save. Now this is going to hurt a lot of armies that solely rely on their invul saves. The Eldar Creep, Custodes, they're 2 up, 4 up, but I shoot them with Dev Wounds, they don't get a save and they just take it. Alright, next we're going to talk about Overwatch. Going back to the stratagem, 3 big changes to Overwatch, even though there's only 2 highlighted on the screen here. First change is you can't Overwatch if you can't see him. If the enemy unit is visible, your unit can shoot the enemy as if it was your shooting phase. Okay, so this goes to a lot of line of sight questions. I expect the next big major tournament, I think it's Nova, might be something else. I expect the next big open tournament to have a lot of line of sight questions of, can I see around this corner, can I see here, how many models can fire here. The second big thing is you cannot use this stratagem on Titanic units. No more overwatching with the big giant knights, no more overwatching with the Storm Surge, no more overwatching with the Lord of Skulls, if that's still even a thing. And the third nerf, which isn't directly called here, it's actually called over here, is the fact that Overwatch is a strategic ploy stratagem. So you cannot use 0 CP abilities unless it specifically calls out Fire Overwatch. Alright, one last thing to mention before we move on to points is the Agency of the Imperium. So Exaction squads took a big hit. In my opinion, it's a good hit. I thought it was extremely unbalanced to have 5 dudes with shotguns for 35 points when every other unit in that action, that force, all the other Arbitrage units were 10-man units at 100 points plus. So what they did was they moved it to a 10-man unit with plus or minus a Mastiff, and they pretty much made the points in line. Okay, so moving on to points, I'll just start with the Agents of the Imperium because that's what I scrolled to first. The Calidus dropped 20 points. That brings it in line with the fact that she's less effective with her skill, her stratagem, taxing ability, and then the Exaction squad became 110 points, which puts them roughly in line with all the other Arbitrage units. As far as Imperial Knights are concerned, they've taken the Armigers and kind of flattened out the points at 150, because one used to be 140 and one used to be 145. Having them jump up to an even kind of balances it out, in my opinion. Some people are going to disagree with me, but I think that 5-10 points was needed to balance it out. I think the points bring it in line with the rest of the changes. And then Canis Rex, he went down from 490 to 460 once again because of the changes, probably to the changes to towering and the changes to a few other things, Overwatch and such. His 0 CP strat is no longer as powerful as it used to be. He's a towering, Titanic, epic character, so you can't 0 CP fire Overwatching. Last point to make from a Knight's standpoint is Valiant Last Stand is now 2 CP. That's the Knight's Fight on Death. I've covered my initial reactions, gathered thoughts and such on the September balance update. So what do I expect going forward here? I expect less reliance on bondsmen. I expect to see less bondsman abilities and more of the other knight abilities coming through. I expect more people to rely on the what I like to call the ace pilot abilities. Each knight has an individual ability. Paladin can reroll 1 hit, 1 win, 1 save. Warden is where he gets devastating wounds against non-monsters, non-vehicles. So I expect to see more of that. I expect to see more Armigers. I fully expect to see more Armigers. I expect it to go from 2 and 5 to maybe 3 and 4 to maybe 1 and 7. 1 big knight, 7 little knights. I'm still on the fence on the warden though. I can see people bringing less wardens because of the lack of bondsman ability on the warden itself. With the removal of the bondsman ability, I don't know if people are gonna stay with it, to be honest. I mean, the way Dev Wounds is reworded, yes, because all of its guns have Dev Wounds against non-monster, non-vehicle. I'm going to play around with it and we're going to figure it out. I'm going to play it out, I'm going to see how it is. We have a tournament, a local RTT next Saturday, so I'll put some videos out about that and talk to some people on site and see how they like the balance change updates. And then we are 4 weeks away from Battle Zone Ursa. Battle Zone Ursa is a GT in Anchorage, Alaska, held every year first week of October, so check it out there. Until then, thanks for watching. Consider going and checking out the rest of the channel, and happy wargaming.